Hey, nice to talk to you. Thanks so much for inviting me onto your podcast. I'm really, really excited. So to tell everyone a little bit about myself, my name is Lisa Maynard-Atem. I work as a social media strategist. I have been working for myself for the last 2 years, advising companies on how they should approach social media, in a nutshell. Previous to that, I headed up the social media at Harrods. I worked there for 7.5 years. And in that time, I set up their Instagram, which we grew to over 1 million followers. I left in December 2017. And then, as I say, started working for myself. So that's where I'm up to at present day. Anyway, to answer your first question, which I think is, when did you know that you wanted to pursue social media as a career? The truth is, I didn't, to be honest. I started out in social media because I used to work as a stylist. And I didn't have a lot of money and I needed a way to promote myself that was really cost effective. In other words, free. So I started dabbling with Twitter and with Facebook groups because Facebook business pages didn't exist at the time and Instagram didn't exist. So I set up a Twitter page called Stylisa, which I still use, but just as a regular account today. And I set up a Facebook group also called Stylisa, and just kind of started to build awareness of what I was doing through that. And that's how I really got into social media. And then as time went on, I found companies were asking me for little bits of advice because when I started, we were all pretty much at the same stage. So nobody knew more than anyone else. So I was giving out bits of advice to people for free because, like I said, I was learning on the job myself. And then as time went on, I started to get more requests for social media advice, and it kind of just snowballed from there. So I ended up doing more social media and less styling, which kind of worked out quite well for me because as it happened, I didn't really like fashion styling as much as I thought I would. So that's really how my career in social media got started. It wasn't by design. It was actually by accident. I was going to stay as a stylist and just use social media to promote my services, but social media began to overtake the styling work. So that's how it kind of all started for me. And like I say, I set up a Twitter account and a Facebook group, both called Stylisa, and just started doing what it says on the tin, basically connecting with people and being social. So that's how I did it. In terms of it, it is still such a new industry. In terms of how it's changed since I've started, I think obviously the thing, algorithms are a big thing. Algorithms weren't necessarily a thing when I started out in social media. And they've definitely made it much more challenging in terms of acquisition and retention. So that's definitely one of the major changes I've seen. But I think on the flip side of that, one of the things I find quite sad now is that I feel that there is very much a negative element to social media, and it seems to be gaining momentum. It feels like more and more people seem to be using it in a very negative way. I know there's a big drive around social media and mental health, and I do think that in recent years, I have seen a real increase in a negative use of these platforms, which kind of concerns me a little bit, especially where young people are concerned, because, they're very impressionable, and what they see has an effect on them, be it good, bad, or indifferent. So I think for me, I do feel like in recent years, especially probably the last 2 to 3 years, I feel there's a real negative element to social media, which I don't like. I really miss the days when you were just connecting with people. Don't get me wrong, there were always trolls, there were always people who weren't nice. But when I first started out in social media, it was a much, I feel, friendlier space. I think, it can be it's a great tool, but it can be somewhat divisive now, which I think is kind of sad to see. But, hopefully, as time goes on, we'll go full circle and it will go back to being a more positive space. So moving on from that, so my time at Harrods, what was that like? It was an incredible experience. It was a great place to cut my teeth from a social media perspective. And I will always be incredibly grateful for the opportunity that they gave me and the faith that they showed in me by allowing me to head up their social media for over 7 years. And my highlight will always be the day that we hit 1 million Instagram followers. And if I remember rightly, it was on the 23rd of January 2017. It was early afternoon. I think it was between 1 p.m. and 2 p.m. Not that I kind of keep that like ingrained on my brain, but yeah, I think for me that will always be the highlight, purely because when I joined the company, they had a Facebook, they had a Twitter, but they didn't have Instagram. So my thing was to set the Instagram up and turn it into the lead brand channel. And I was really obviously over the moon when we achieved that, because it wasn't just down to me. I had an amazing team and incredible support in the business, and all of that contributed to us hitting what was an incredible milestone. But yeah, Harrods was an incredible experience, and I will always remember it fondly. Moving on from that, what is crucial to success when it comes to social media? I think social media is very much a movable feast. But fundamentally, I think you have to be willing to try different things, see what works, and dial up those successful tactics. You also have to have really good people running your channels. You have to remember that behind these accounts often is a person, and whoever is speaking on behalf of your business or behalf of your brand, you've got to be able to trust them. You've got to be able to trust their judgment, that they'll work off their own initiative, that in those moments when speed is of the essence, that they will make the right decisions. And there's no strategy for that, really. That's more common sense and having a natural ability for social media, which I think a lot of people do. I think a lot of people get scared, but I do think that a lot of people out there do have a natural ability for it. But I do think, common sense plays a massive part in it, and just logical thinking as well. If you wouldn't want to, I always say, if you want to see it on the front of the Daily Mail, then don't put it on social media. That would be my advice. But yeah, I think people are very important, because ultimately they're speaking on behalf of your business. So you need to be able to trust them like 150%, because it just won't work otherwise. So yeah, that's my thoughts in terms of what's crucial when it comes to social media strategy. Moving on from that, next question is, a lot of people have this idea that it's as simple as posting an image, writing a caption, and you're done. But it really isn't that simple. Also, some content catches on and others don't. What do you think makes great content? Well, for me, I am a firm believer in the 3 E's when it comes to social media. So I believe that content should engage, it should educate, and it should entertain. And it should also be authentic. Everything you do should reflect what you stand for, rather than just jumping on trends. I really encourage people I work with to find what I call your USSP, which is unique social selling points. And what they are aspects of your business that are unique to you and therefore give you somewhat of a competitive advantage. And also, finally, don't forget about storytelling. Ultimately, at the end of the day, people connect with people, and we all share very similar experiences. So I think it's really important to tap into that in a way that's relevant to your brand, and ultimately use it to your advantage. Next question. Ooh, this is a tough one. What do you wish you had known when you were starting out? I actually wish that I had known how things would turn out, because I feel like that would have given me more confidence, in terms of believing in myself, especially in those moments when I was scared that I might fail. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm a confident person, but like anyone, I have my moments of self-doubt. I remember the day I arrived at Harrods, and I was stood on the Brompton Road, and I was looking at this imposing building, and I was like, oh my God, what have I done? What have I done? And I had this moment of panic. And then I just thought, you know what, just go in there. And like I said before, really try to just work hard and just see where you go. So I think if I had known then on the 1st of September 2010 what I know now, I think there's definitely a chance I would have gone into it a bit more confidently maybe than I did. But yeah, that's what I would say. But obviously it all worked out well, which is absolutely amazing. So what hurdles did I personally face, and how did I overcome them? I think the biggest one for me, and still is to a degree, is that fear of failure, which I think we all feel and we all experience. And how I overcome it is simply just to push forward anyway. It's just like, you feel the fear and do it anyway. Because I think that it's really important to understand that you can't let the fear of the unknown hold you back. Because if you do, you'll never know what you're truly capable of. So I think, again, it's all about, it's perfectly okay to be scared. It's perfectly okay to be nervous. But you just got to kind of suck it up and just go forward and just do it and just try your absolute best. Next question. Why do you think people fail at creating engaging content? I'm not gonna say that I think people fail at creating content. I think that they just don't think outside of the box. I think what a lot of people don't do is look beyond the obvious, and see the potential for content in every situation. You know, you really have to open your eyes and your ears and really take in what's going on around you, because inspiration for content can come from anywhere and everywhere. And I think a lot of people don't think that way. You know, when I'm walking down the street, I'm looking around, I'm listening to people, I'm taking in different sounds, I'm taking in different sights, because you just don't know where that next inspired piece of content is going to come from. So I think it's very important to be aware and to be very present in the offline world, because then that will help you translate things better for the online world, if that makes sense. Next question. If you had to give one takeaway to someone starting out right now, what would that takeaway be? My thing is try. Always, always try. Everything starts with trying. You know, and don't be afraid to fail, or don't become disheartened if something doesn't work out. Everything starts with trying. If you don't try, you'll never know what you can achieve. So my takeaway would be try. And the second one, whilst I think about it, is don't spend your time worrying about what people think. Easier said than done, I know, but it's really important that you kind of tune out the noise and just get very, very focused on what it is you want to achieve. People are always going to have something to say, be it positive or negative. You've got to try and really tune that out and just really be clear on where you're going and what you need to do to get there. Final question. What's the craziest thing that's happened to you in your career that you can laugh about now? Well, this is going to be a really boring answer, I can imagine, but I'm afraid I can't give any actual examples because that would mean breaching confidentiality, which I would never want to do. But needless to say, there have been some pretty interesting moments, very interesting indeed. Some really hilarious ones, some really slightly hairy ones where you didn't quite know what the outcome was going to be. But there have definitely been some very crazy and interesting moments. It's just unfortunate that unfortunately I cannot share them with you. But yeah, trust me, some very, very interesting moments in my career. So yeah, that's kind of it from me. I think if I'm going to leave anybody with anything in terms of social media, it's the 3 E's. You know, content should always educate, engage, and entertain, and it should be authentic, and it should tell your story, not somebody else's, and it should be relevant to you and to your audience. So yeah, and, you know, have fun with it as well. Don't take yourself too seriously. You know, obviously take your work seriously, but don't take it so seriously that you take the fun out of it, because social media should be fun. It should be interesting. It should be engaging. So yeah, always try and have fun with it when it's appropriate to do so, of course. But yeah, that's kind of it from me. Thank you so much for taking the time to have me on your podcast. I really, really appreciate it. And hopefully we shall do it again soon. So take care. Bye.